Hello, this is Daryl here, sending love as always. Thank you for tuning in. I just want to say if you like this interview, you can check our website for companion workbooks, action guides, tools, checklists, templates, and show notes with links for everything mentioned on the call. Just visit bestbusinesscoach.ca. That's best, B-E-S-T, businesscoach.ca. Enjoy. Hi, I'm Daryl Urbanski, and welcome to the Best Business Podcast. My mission is to help create 200 new multimillionaire business owners. How? You'll do better when you know better. In my interviews, you'll hear from self-made millionaires, seven-figure business owners, authors, and world-class experts sharing how they did it so you can too without experiencing the same obstacles they did. Now, if you like this interview, please share it with a friend you think will benefit. They'll appreciate it, and I will as well. You can also connect with me on social media. Look for Daryl Urbanski, D-A-R-Y-L, Urban Ski, U-R-B-A-N-S-K-I, and add me so we can be friends. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy what I've prepared for you right here, right now. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski, your host as always, and today we are joined by a longtime friend and copywriting expert, Otto Ruebsamen. When he was 19 years old, Otto was inspired by a living copywriting legend. Seeing how copywriting produced billions of dollars in sales for a single person, Otto committed himself to becoming an expert at the art and science of salesmanship in print. 12 years later, Otto has written successful campaigns selling everything from high-end coaching, information products, seminars, skincare, supplements, vertical jump training, and even definitive guides for breastfeeding mothers. Copywriting is important because of how it allows a business to standardize and scale their sales process. Instead of having 10 plus sales reps out in the field all doing things with their own flavor, you can do it all with the written word and make sure your prospects get the exact same experience. So I've asked Otto to join us today to share with us answers to questions such as why is copy so important in everything we do, what to hone in on with your ideal prospects to create high converting copy, how to apply principles of copywriting to every critical touch point in your business, and how to double your revenue by tweaking a few key elements, these critical success factors that can make your revenue soar, and much, much more. So Otto, thank you for joining us, my friend. It's been way too long since we last talked. How you doing?
Doing good, Daryl. Thank you.
Hey, well, thank you for being here, man. I know you're in Miami and you could be down at the beach enjoying your morning. But you decided to hang out here inside online with us to help myself and my listeners out. So I appreciate that. Now, I'm sure that really piqued a lot of people's curiosity, and that's usually what I like to get into first is kind of the background. Like, do you come from a family of entrepreneurs? How did you get into copywriting and business and marketing and sales? I mean, were you taught this stuff by your parents growing up? Like is it hereditary or what happened? What's your story?
No, my story is this. I was raised by a single mother in the rural woods of Maine, literally out in the middle of nowhere. And, she always taught us, hey, if you want to learn something in life, just go learn it. And so
What a concept.
yeah, just go figure it out. So when I was 19, I went to this business seminar, and I was always really ambitious. And I went to this business seminar, and I met this copywriting legend there, and he spent a whole day with us just going over copywriting and talking about a lot of the failures he'd had, and then finally got into some of the successes he had. And this is a guy who had literally sold billions of dollars worth of products and services through the power of his written word, and that really inspired me. From there, I dove in headfirst into studying marketing and really becoming immersed in getting the marketing bug and reading everything I could, and just doing all the things to learn it and just fully get it and start producing good copy.
Got it. So I mentioned kind of briefly at the beginning, and I kind of summarized it. But can we talk about it a bit more right now? Because copy is something that is, for a lot of people, might seem benign. Like, oh, it's just words on paper. Like, get an intern to write you some copy, or something like that. Get a girl with nice writing, and something. I've heard all sorts of things like that. But why is copy so important?
Well, copy is in every single thing you do as a business. It's literally it's salesmanship in mass. If you take an incredible salesperson, whether salesman, saleswoman, someone who's just incredibly good at making orders come in, and you bottle up their presentation, you bottle up the way that they communicate into something that a mass of people can see or read or listen to, then it enables you to scale. And it's in the scaling that enables you to really drive your revenue to a higher level, because it's not just one on one. It's one to infinity of a number of people that you get to watch it or listen to it or read it. And so, but it doesn't stop there. Copy is literally, in my opinion, in every single touch point that a customer or a prospect or a client has with your business. Every conversation they have, every email they read, every package they receive in the mail from you, every single one of these is a touch point. And at each and every single touch point, it's a communication that either does one of a couple things. It either makes them more inclined to continue doing business with you or to do business with you for the first time. It's either a big positive for them or it's a negative or a moot point. Like where they and if say they call in and they get a customer service representative to a company and they have a bad experience with that. Well, they're not going to, chances are they're not going to do business with that company because, that customer service representative didn't, it's a touch point, and the copy of, how that person communicates on the phone, that has a huge impact on the business.
Yeah, and I fully agree on that. And I wanted to say something too, because there's something you mentioned that I think I've heard a lot of copywriters gloss over this, and I know I've brought it up, but I actually haven't heard anyone else bring it up. And that's when you talk about how, like, the power to scale. I think there's also a lot of business owners who don't think in terms of creating a marketing campaign that you could roll out nationwide. They're like doing, hey, we got a 4-day 50% off sale. Hey, we've got a, like these small flash kind of sales or smaller promotions. Hey, we're doing a Valentine's Day thing, which of course maybe you could do that nationwide, but it's really hard to know and measure and get an ROI on the copy or on the promotion itself. But whereas where you're talking about, like, this is about creating something of where you're meeting someone in a specific instance, whether it's a letter that goes to first time buyers or it's a letter that goes to leads once they become a lead, once they fill out your contact form or whatever. And that's something that is a standardized piece of material that goes to this group of people. Either it's your first introduction to them, or it's the first they hear from you after they buy, or right, or any of these things. And it's something that would allow you to really scale out, because there's pieces of copy that have been mailed for over 15 years, correct?
Absolutely.
So I think that that's something I just wanted to bring up, because I see that a lot too. Like a business owner, they'll do something. They'll do like a 2-for-1 special. And they're like, wow, that was great. Made some money. I made an extra couple $1,000s. Now what do I do? And I hate that thinking. I think partially because I'm lazy, but also because I think it limits where you're at. And so I just wanted to bring that up because we're talking about scale and this grandness, but I think also just you could take a really skilled copywriter and put them on a dead end street by having them write a promotion that's only going to be mailed for 2 weeks and to a group of like 100 people, and then reach its end. Now, I guess there's still value in that for sure. I mean, generating sales, especially if you're upselling an existing group of customers. But I like what you mentioned. I think this is the real true power of copywriting. It's about unifying the voice through your entire business. I think as well. It's almost like they talk about your brand. You want to have that same voice in everything you do and say. You want to have a really clear and concise personality, I guess, and you want to make sure that you're expressing your values. And like I said before, if you can have this one letter and mail it to 100,000 people, to 1 million people, you're going to get a way better standard or be able to predict the ROI way better if you have the same thing, which we call a control in copywriting. Sorry, I know you still know some of this, Otto, but I'm kind of saying it for the listeners, the people listening in, and anyone that's listening in on this that doesn't necessarily understand the power of copywriting. If you had a team of 10 or 100 sales reps go out and try to serve and talk to these 100,000 or these million people, each sales rep's got their own personality. They're having good days, bad days, right? They're sick, they're healthy, they're on spot. Oh, they forgot this part of their training or not. But with copy, it's just crystallized, not necessarily written in stone, but written in ink and printed on paper. And then that's something that you could mail out consistently to hundreds of thousands, millions of people. And when you've got something that works, you can really, really drive it home.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, like for instance, direct mail guys. A lot of direct mail guys won't mail a list unless the list universe is over a certain number of names. If you go and do a 5,000 name rental and you mail to it and you, let's say you pull a double over where for every dollar you spend you bring $2 back in. Great. That's a wonderful. That's a front end. As far as a list that you're just mailing to, awesome. You just made a profitable campaign, but if that list only has 30,000 names on it, then you're not really going very far. But if it's got 3 million names on it, then you just made yourself a fortune because you can mail profitably to a heck of a lot more people.
Yeah, and this is a great segue. I want to bring up something from the late great Gary Halbert. His son Bond Halbert's been on our show, and I'm a huge fan of Gary. And in fact, something that helped me with one of my clients do one of our first $1 million campaigns was applying this to a different medium. It was the internet, but I'm going to read for it for everyone here because I think it's really important to understand how this works. So this is one of Gary's boron letters. Letters that he wrote while he was in white collar jail for fraud. So his house had been broken into. Apparently, his house had been broken into, and the thieves had stolen some garbage bags full of envelopes, and those envelopes had orders for his product in because he was one of these copywriters that would mail out letters and get orders back. And back then, they didn't even have credit cards, so people would send money or checks in the mail. And since these bags were stolen, they didn't know who to contact to let know that, right, the order, like what had happened. So instead you have a bunch of complaints of people saying they paid for something and didn't get it. So Gary ended up going to jail for a few months, doing some time for that. And while he was there, he was writing letters to his son about how to pass on this lucrative business he was in. And in one of the letters he goes, "It seems to me that I feel like outlining the steps to direct mail success. So that's what I'm going to do. Step 1, find a hot market." And in brackets it says mailing list. Step 2, find or create a product. In brackets it says preferably paper and ink. End of bracket, to sell to that market. Step 3, create a direct mail promotion that describes a product or service and the benefits of owning the same. Step 4, make a test mailing, 1,000 to 5,000 pieces. So that means mail out 1,000 to 5,000 of these letters. Step 5, analyze your results. Step 6, if results are good, mail 20,000 to 100,000 more letters. Step 7, if results are still good, start rolling out and taking care of business. And I applied this, and in fact, it's funny, Otto, because right before this interview, I was in Facebook ads going through and seeing what ads have we gotten a couple hundred clicks from and which ads haven't had that much yet and which ones are marginal results and which ones are good results, and turning this on and turning that off. Because I think the same thing applies whether it's online, it's offline. It's talking about direct response marketing where I'm able to measure and track. I did this, got this result, and that's what I wanted, or it's subpar, or it's marginal, and maybe I can improve it. And either green light, keeping it running, yellow light, figuring out we got to find some way to make it a little bit better, or red light, just killing the project in total. And here they're talking about 1,000 to 5,000 mail pieces, but online it could be clicks, it could be impressions. If you're at a trade show, it could be foot traffic past your booth. Sorry, I'm just thinking about that because I'm hoping there's a bunch of people getting some aha here and really, really, really excited. But Otto, with the copywriting skill, what are some of the most important parts of copywriting? What are the critical, in any skill set that you have, there's fundamentals that really make the difference. So what are some of the fundamentals of copywriting that really make or break your campaigns?
Well, there's a number of things there. I just want to comment. I remember reading the boron letters in winter break when I was in college, and I was stuck on campus at University of Maine, and there was like maybe 4 people, 5 people on campus. I'm exaggerating a little bit. It was maybe a little bit more than that, but I remember going through all of Gary Halbert's letters and reading the Boron letters back over that winter break, and man, that guy sure he surely got me motivated for to write copy, to do marketing campaigns. I mean, he definitely knew how to light a fire on people's butts and get them going.
That's very, very true.
Yeah.
So one of the most important things when writing copy?
Testing. I mean, well, all right. So your headline's always going to be your headline. If it's an email, who it's coming from, because you got to build the relationship with people. But really, your headline, everyone comes back to that. One thing that like you were talking about Facebook marketing, and we've talked about direct mail. The thing about direct mail is, you get a piece, and maybe you're doing an A/B split test, maybe you're doing an ABC split test where you're testing one mailing piece against another, and again against another. On 5,000 names, you typically need about 1,500 names direct mailed to be statistically significant. So you can pretty well get about an ABC split test in on a direct mail campaign, and have some statistical significance to work from. The cool thing about Facebook is, I've got a friend of mine who he'll go and test 50 ads to make sure, to figure out which ones work the best. And that's, you learn a lot about the conversation with your marketplace when you do something like that, what they're really clicking on, what they're really buying. If you track all the way through to end sale, and what you can do on the internet, it makes it really clear to understand what your market wants to buy. And that's really key is, if you understand what your market wants to buy versus what you want to sell them, oftentimes they're not the same thing.
And that's something that I think even I struggle with, because they say nothing feels like success. So after a few big wins, you start thinking you know everything, and you don't really need to do your due diligence, right? That's for people that are just new and getting started. So how do you recommend people do that? How do you recommend people try to figure out what their market wants to buy? I mean, we can test with ads, but you still got to find some sort of starting point. So what do you do in copywriting? Like, how do you get inside the head of an avatar? How do you build an avatar? Do you have a process for that?
I mean, nowadays, you can learn a lot by going into the same market that this is in on Amazon, and looking at comments and questions that people have in that marketplace, or finding an online forum and looking at the questions that people ask, because that'll tell you roughly what 70% of that market, which is generally the newer people to the market, want from what's out there, what problems they're having. The biggest thing I've found is focusing on the problems, the fears, the frustrations. I tend to be a very optimistic person, and in the past I used to use a lot more moving toward copy, meaning focusing on all the positives. But without a pain, it doesn't give people really a strong motivation to move away from, and it's the pain that gets people to buy.
Somebody said that. What was it? I remember maybe it was Perry, maybe it was Belcher. Someone was saying that, think of the church. I'm not a churchgoer or anything, or a highly religious man. I'm spiritual, but I love what he said. He said, fire and brimstone get people to church. Once you get there, it's all about heaven, but it's the fire and brimstone that gets you there. So I think that's an important distinction too. Now, you don't necessarily want to scare people though, because you want to focus on the pain, but I think you have to be careful, because you can go too far. I've heard that pictures of beautiful smiles sells more dentist services than pictures of ugly teeth. But that being said, you still need to know exactly what you said: the problems, the fears, the frustrations. You have to be able to tactfully tap into those, right?
Yeah, and to pull a quote from a mentor of mine, Wyatt Woodsmall. He said, if you can effectively sell someone on the problem they have, then you're more than 50% of the way there to getting them into if you can fully get them immersed in the problem, then you're well more than halfway there to get them to buy from you.
Wow, I love that. So there's Otto, you've dropped two big gems here. First of all, if people's listening to this, if their brains aren't tingling, you need to go back and re-listen to this. So first of all, we've given you a formula for marketing success. Second of all, Corey, you're not Corey. Sorry, man. Otto just gave two really great tips. So one is, I love that. You sell someone on the problem. So that basically means if you can articulate and really like if someone's ever read a storybook and the author paints the picture so well, you can see the once upon a time and the valley and the butterflies and the little bunnies eating grass and just this very vivid picture. If you can do that with the specific problem you're trying to sell a solution for, you're over 50% of the way to the sale.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yes, and to be very precise in what I picked up from this gentleman Wyatt, he said, if you can describe their problem better than they can, then they automatically attribute you as having the solution to it.
Got it. Say that one more time. I'm a writer downer, and again, people listen.
If you can describe a prospect's problem better than they can, they automatically think you have the solution to it.
Now, the other thing that you said that I thought was huge. I thought this is a huge tip because I think it's true. I think there might be exceptions, but you said that 80% of the market will be new.
Yeah, generally about 70% to 80% of a marketplace are the newbies, the new to the market. Let's look at people who are interested in learning how to make money online, the quote-unquote internet marketing industry. Generally, about 70% of that specific marketplace are people that are new to the industry, that are wanting to transition out of a job into working for themselves, that want to figure out how to be able to work from home and make good income. And then you get about 30% of the people in that marketplace that have been doing some things, that have been around for a little bit, and then you get a smaller percentage of the 30 who are the people that are actively running their businesses and building companies, and that's typically what you see like for that marketplace, for instance.
And I love that because if anyone here has ever been a member of any sort of club, or if they've ever trained in any sort of sport or done any competition, for me, martial arts comes to mind because I had the martial arts school, and I remember every year, because the UFC came out and it made MMA really popular, and I used to teach Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, which is kind of what the UFC is founded on, not really, but sort of. I'm not going to go into that, but essentially every year, at least locally where my school was located, the tournaments, the white belt, so it went, the belt system went from going from low to high, white, blue, purple, brown, black, and black is like 12 years experience. So white is a brand new person. And I remember every year the white belt category would get bigger and bigger and bigger, but there'd still only be like 3 guys fighting in the black belt fights, and those are the ones that kind of, if you're a coach or someone, you kind of want to see the more experienced guys. So all the really fun matches usually were purple, brown, and black belts. But I remember one year we went, there was like 400 or 500 white belts. There was like 100 blue belts. There was like 40 purples and 10 browns and 3 black belts. And like that was it. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know why that is, but I think there's a lot of truth to that. That in most markets, it's the vast majority of people in that market, depending, I guess, on what you're selling. If you're doing carpet cleaning, although I guess, yeah, even then, people that are new to having someone clean their carpets, they'll be the ones looking. The people that are experienced in it, I think they're a bit more of a savvy buyer. They'll either have people already to turn to. They'll know, they'll find like what they're comfortable with.
Absolutely. And that's across all things. What I'm thinking of right now is I had a very great honor of being able to be trained by I had some training with a very, very exceptional samurai. In the samurai system, the kenjutsu, the art of the samurai, they have a seven sash system where seven different belts, so to speak. And it takes years and years and years to get to the fifth rank, and many many more years to even get to the sixth rank. And the sixth rank samurais are considered grandmaster samurai, and then there's one rank above that, which is the blue sash, and it's a seventh rank samurai. There are about I believe there's about 14 or 15 actively training seventh ranked samurai in the world. And when I was training under this specific individual, he was a sixth rank, and while I was training under him, his master actually passed on, and he ended up becoming a seventh ranked samurai, which is, there's so few of them in the world that are actively practicing, that it's just it's a bell shaped curve, and it's the very far end of one spectrum.
Yeah, and then you've got kind of the large middle. So I thought those were really interesting because if anyone here is a coach or a consultant, or again, even if you're doing services for people, even if you're a massage therapist, probably a lot of the biggest part of the market are people that are kind of on the fence and just kind of getting started into it, not new, not the person that's been getting massages year in, year out, and they're a veteran and they're like the easiest client because they'll come in and tell you exactly what they need and want, and where it hurts, and they'll be prepared and they'll shower before they come. It's going to be the new people, the people who have never really had a massage, or maybe don't, come from a long day of work and come smelly, to get their massage, or who knows what. But that would be the biggest part of the market because they're the ones with the problems searching for the answers. Anyways, okay, that's interesting. I'm going to ponder on that after this. So, what do you feel like you had to overcome certain challenges or milestones in your development as a copywriter and in mastering marketing and sales? Was there like a progression where you're like, oh, first I had to understand this, and then I kind of figured that out, and then do you see, looking back, any sort of process that you went through?
Yeah, I went wide before I went deep, and I'll explain that. So I started reading everything I could get my hands on in marketing, all the classic books, everything I could get from Claude C. Hopkins, Jay Abraham, John Carlton. Incidentally, I later on, as I was coming up through the ranks, I was able to had the great fortune of being able to do some writing for John Carlton, which was awesome. The guy's amazing. Then along the way, just really digging into everything I could. So I got a good understanding of the strategy of marketing, and then to really hone in on copy itself. That took it really took me about 7 years to really become able to write effective copy, because I didn't get it. And like growing up, I'd had door to door sales experience, or when I was 20, I actually used to sell subscriptions of the New York Post on the side of the street in New York City, which great sales experience. I mean, there's New Yorkers they've got a big heart, and they're also very busy people, and to get them to stop on the street and buy home delivery subscriptions, not the easiest at times, but you learn a lot from that. So
Not the easiest of times at all.
yeah, yes. Basically, some of the things that really helped me dig into getting good at copy were to, read a lot of advertisements, and then take very successful ads and physically hand rewrite them, the whole ad. And that's something that not a lot of people actually take the time to do. But yeah, I've done that with probably 20, 25 ads, and it helps. It helps a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you write in someone else's writing, you can kind of get into your muscle memory, their style, and you can kind of get into the nuances of what they do. So, but it's a lot. It's not just write at once. You got to write these things over and over and over and over. So the repetition, I think, really counts. So, okay. So now 7 years, it's a lot to really understand, like getting into the copy. Um, like it's a long time to develop the skill. So I guess, yeah. Sorry, I just was thinking about that. 7 years to get into the copy. So I guess, how do you approach it? Is there a process you go through when you go to write copy for someone? Say I hired you I became a client. Is there a process that I need to go through with you to help prepare you and get you ready to write copy?
Yeah, in general, it's really helpful to understand the client and their voice, and sometimes I've been able to do that. Sometimes I've had situations where people asked me to write some copy for a client, and then never wasn't even ever able to speak to the client. So sometimes you gotta figure out what the company wants based on an email or things like that, where you don't get a real sense of the company voice, and that makes it a little harder. But the biggest thing is really understanding the avatar. There's a huge difference in writing to little old ladies in their early 60s who are concerned about health versus writing to, 25-year-old guys who want to learn how to date women. There's a huge difference in the language you use, in the tone that you use, in the softness or aggressiveness, in the types of stories you tell. Which stories, that's probably one of the best things you can ever use with your copy is having an effective story or two goes a heck of a long way to getting results with your copy.
And holding people's attention too, because since forever we've been telling each other stories around the campfire, right? Once upon a time, and people go into a trance. So that's the old school marketing equation: AIDA: attention, interest, desire, action. First part is attention. You can't tell your story, you can't talk about your product, can't anything if you don't have someone's attention. And attention is often tied to relevancy to a pain point they have, a frustration they had, relevant to their life, relevant to what they're thinking about. If I'm trying to sell pies, but your child is has just stopped breathing, like, I'm not going to get any of your attention. In fact, you're just going to be frustrated with me for distracting you. So relevancy, I think, is a huge part of that, which kind of again comes back to where you talk about why the headline was super important back at the beginning of the call, because the headline is the first thing people read. I know newspapers, they actually have different people on staff that write the headlines to the articles. So even if you're a writer for a newspaper, you might write the article in the newspaper, but you won't submit the headline for that article. Because when someone grabs a newspaper, or even if you're scanning a blog, you scan all the headlines, and based on the headline, you decide whether to read the rest of the blog post or not. So it comes back to that whole attention thing. So knowing the prospect again seems to be like mission critical, number one, right?
Yeah, a great place to filch great headlines are actually the National Enquirer.
Yep.
They write some great headlines. Another thing that you can do, this is a great tip for those of you listening. If you just Google search, if you type into Google 100 greatest headlines ever written, then you'll get a list of 100 headlines that are considered some of the best, the 100 best headlines ever written. And as you read through those, they're all very formulaic. Like I'm going to do this right now. 100.
Yeah, actually pulled it up. The secret of making people like you. A little mistake that cost a farmer $3,000 a year. Advice to wives whose husbands don't save money. Buy a wife. The child who won the hearts of all. Are you ever tongue-tied at a party? How a new discovery made a plain girl beautiful. How to win friends and influence people.
Let's take that one for instance. So if you take how to win friends and influence people and you look at the formula of it, it's how to blank and blank. So how to
And it's the two biggest things that market want. They want to make friends, and they want to be heard by others. They don't just want to be someone's kind of sidekick. How do you make friends, and how do you become a leader? How do you stand out and be someone who's admired? How do you influence other people? Those are the two biggest
Yeah.
pain points.
Let's look at the weight loss market. How to lose weight and feel more energy.
Right, because you don't want to just starve yourself and then feel weak and lethargic because, right, you're hurting your body. That's good. How a little mistake that cost a farmer $3,000 a year. That would get me if I was a farmer and my farm was struggling and I was trying to get up and above. And this is an old headline back when $3,000 was a lot of money. Um, probably the equivalent to 30,000 this year, this day and age, maybe even more. That would definitely get my attention. What's this little mistake? It's a little mistake. Could I be doing it? At least we'll get your attention and get you to read the next line,
Yeah,
right?
and looking at the formula behind it, if you say,
Yeah, a small mistake that lowered a mother's baby's IQ.
exactly, it really comes back to looking at the formula or the structure behind these headlines, and that there's 100 that you can swipe and test, in whichever market you're in.
Now, with good copy, can you sell ice to Eskimos? Is that the whole thing? With good copy, are you able to sell things to people that they may not want or need?
Well, there's a really good book on marketing called Ice to Eskimos, written by John Spolstra. He took on a very challenging sale back in the 90s, and that was to sell Nets tickets. The New Jersey Nets basketball team were constantly in the cellar. Horrible team. Nobody wanted to go to their games. So what he did is he actually started. He put together a package of he started marketing the superstars of opposing teams and put together a great pack. This is such a great story. So it was like Shaq and Kevin Garnett and Jordan and a bunch of other superstars. I think he chose 5 teams for it, and he went and he lined up not only his promotions to talk about the superstars of the other teams for those games, but he also got Lou Holtz and a couple other prominent speakers to do a before the game speech. And what he did is he went to all the business people in the New Jersey area and sold them tickets to come listen to Lou Holtz speak, who was the number one speaker in the nation at the time, and these other top amazing speakers, and watch these and promote it with the superstars of these other tems. And sure enough, those games with those 5 teams, they sold out, and that was a pretty big feat in itself for them.
That's awesome. So, what are the mistakes you see a lot of your clients making? Like when someone comes to work with you and you step into their business and you're, all right, we're going to help you get this copy written to whatever, to build your audience, to increase sales, to get people to come back and buy a second or third time. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see in a lot of businesses or with a lot of clients when you start getting work, like starting to work with them?
They're too busy to think.
Ooh, ouch, Otto. I meant your clients, not me. Don't say that. Ow, that hurt. That was painful. That was so painful. That was so painful. I just went through an experience like that where that was the problem. I was too busy to stop and look. Ouch. Okay. Can you expand on that a little bit? Just don't make me cry on the recording, all right? And for the record, I'm not Otto's client, so he's not really talking about me, but I can empathize for sure.
Yeah. So a lot of business owners, you have a bazillion things that you're trying to do, and you lose focus. You're trying to fix there's an old story of Gary Halbert and John Carlton where John Carlton shows up for the first day of really getting down to work and writing copy and getting everything going. And right as he walks in the office to meet with Gary, the phone starts ringing, and there's a huge problem with someone on the phone. The copy machine breaks. The landlord came down to have a little chat with Gary about something, and some other huge thing happens. So there's like four different fires going on right when he walks in, and Gary says, "All right, well, hang on a second, guys." And he walks into his office. He beckons John to come with him. He shuts the door. He locks it, and he says, "All right, let's get to work."
Yep.
And the point of that story is,
Yeah, because John's sitting there and he's like, but wait, you got your landlord's here. He's mad. There's an upset client on the phone. The copywriter's not busted. Your secretary needs help with that. I can wait. You can take care of that stuff first. And Gary's like, this is the only work
yeah,
that really matters
yeah,
of bringing sales through the door.
it comes back to bringing in the bacon. As a copywriter, when I work with clients, it comes back to really it comes back to getting revenue in the door and then making sure their systems are in place so that they can handle the increased business. And if you don't have most of the problems of running around with too busy and in overwhelm mode is because you don't have systems set up.
And a system is just a step-by-step process. In a lot of ways, I mean, you can have an automated system where machinery does this and then that, a workflow process, a flow chart, a mind map, again, a checklist, again, step by step. Those are all it's just all an example for a system. And I think that what you said earlier, and this is part of one of the things where I said it was painful for me. So in my business, we've been creating a lot of systems the last year and a half or so, because usually I've been doing tons of work for clients, but it's time to get things under my own house. So we've really made an effort for that. And, and that's just all it is. It's just a system for how to get something done to produce the exact same result every time. So all the steps and all the considerations you need to take into account. And then every system needs a training system for it, because just because you have the system documented doesn't mean that there's a process to make sure someone who needs to get that result goes through the system the right way. And that's all a business is. A business is really just a collection of people working together to achieve a common goal, often in the servitude of others. That's really it. You're trying to serve a group of people. The team you've got are trying to serve a group of people, and you're working together. And that's really it. And so all the system is just instructions for how people should either work together, where the handoff points are, or how to get something done in your absence. Too many businesses are stuck depending on exceptional people, oftentimes the owner, because there's no documentation of how to get things done. And what a lot of business owners don't realize is that's actually a lot of the value in their business. I know people that have got $2 million businesses, just about $2 million businesses that are trapped in them because they can't get the stuff, or they haven't gotten the stuff out of their heads, and they are the whole show. And I mean, trust me, there's probably a lot of people that are like, whatever, I wouldn't mind that if I was making $2 million a year. Yeah, but if you never get the chance to enjoy it, you're trapped, and it's not fun. And you think, and there's lots of people that think they can just spend the money to get out of it. But like you say, what ends up having to happen is they have to slow down so they can think and do things in a proper process. But it's always a juggling act. It's an art, not a science, because you slow down too much, sales might slow, yada, yada, yada. So it's a bit of a balancing act in that respect. Wouldn't you say, Otto?
Yeah, I would. And, I can think back to, I'm thinking of one of my clients that I had in the past where, he was running about a 50-hour work week. Once he put some systems in place, he was able to drop his working week, quote unquote, to 15 hours. And, with that extra, 35 hours a week, he was able to focus on driving in more revenue. And as a result, I mean, his business tripled in size in very short order.
Yeah, because that's the biggest thing. We beat the drum of the importance of building a team, and whoever's listening to this, if this is your first interview with us, I really encourage you to not only listen to this interview again, but go and listen to some of our others. All of our experts are phenomenal, and we beat the drum of needing to build a team all the time on this show, because getting rich is a team sport. Remember, it's not just about you trying to make all sorts of money, and that's where I think a lot of people get hung up, including myself, is when you go to build a team, sometimes what in the short term, what the owner or the ringleader of it all might be bringing home might be smaller, because now they're paying more people, and now you're sharing it around. But the idea is, it's like you're a coach for a soccer team or a football team or a baseball team, and you might need to, eat a little less because you brought this home run hitter onto the team. But the idea is now you don't have to stress out about where the home run's going to come from moving forward. You've got this guy, and that's his job. And if he doesn't do it, then obviously you'll replace him. And then the goal, ideally, everyone plays their role in the team, and as an end result, moving forward past this short-term instance where you have a smaller lunch, everybody does better because everyone has better. And there's a great thing. I actually put it in my iPhone. I'm a big fan of using reminders to remind myself of things. Um, and I just added one that just says, "Why not the best?" And that's just a great quote. So anytime you go to hire someone, why not hire the best? Anytime you're getting something done, graphics for your site, why not get the best? Anytime you want to do something, why not focus on the best first versus what's the most cost effective? And I think that that's a really important thing. I think that we're here to try and do the best that we can and put our best foot forward and provide the best solutions to solve the best problems. And what I mean by the best problems is the real problems. If you want to, you can help people with small problems, but if there's a recession, that's not going to be mission critical. If you're serving luxurious meals that are like $1,000 a meal and the economy goes south, that luxury is going to get cut off real fast. If you're providing families meals so that way the parents don't have to slow down because they're trying to work two jobs, yada, 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 and you've got some way that can feed a family of four and it's cost effective for everyone, that's a good problem. That's a real problem, and that's something that probably hang around for a while. So, Otto, do you have any habits that you feel have helped you on your path to success?
Yeah, there's a few. Getting around good marketers, that helps a lot because it's the conversations you get to have. You know, it really comes back to conversations and someone who knows a lot about marketing and copy, they can say one thing to you and you're like, oh wow, and you have this epiphany and you go out and you make a bunch of money with it.
Yes, one idea. One idea has made me so much money so many different times. Just one idea, well implemented. Well done is better than well said. And so if you get one idea from this entire call, implement it in 24 hours if you can, because that will make a world of difference for you and your business. Yeah, so well said. What else you got, Otto?
Really ask your marketplace. Spend time asking them. And I'll give you a good example from a business that I ran for a while. This actually ties both of these points together. A good friend of mine, marketing genius, his name's Jason Moffat. I was hanging out with him one time at his house back when he was living in San Diego, and he gave me an idea for to go do, and I thought it was a good idea. So I went and I built a business teaching people how to increase their vertical jump. And then one day I went and the point I'm making here with the kind of sending a query out, I surveyed the marketplace, and I found out that so much more about them than I ever realized. A lot of these people were younger than I was thinking they would be. A lot of them were had different goals than I thought they would have, and I also got to find out who their favorite basketball players were, and by doing a simple survey to them, was able to learn a lot about the things that I had no clue of, and then I was able to adjust copy to speak to just those things.
Yeah, we've had a guest on here twice. If anyone's interested in using surveys to get some of this data, go and listen to either of the interviews we've done with Ryan Levesque. He has a book called Ask, and it's all about that. It's using surveys. And what Ryan does is phenomenal. However, surveys are nothing new to marketing. There's a bunch of books. In fact, I even have one here. This is a good book for anyone that's interested. It's called The Psychology of Advertising in Theory and Practice, a simple exposition of the principles of psychology in the relation to successful advertising. It's by Walter Dill Scott. The copyright on this is 1906. It's part of the Forgotten Classics series. And in here, one of the things he calls it the questionnaire method, and it's basically that. It's ask people the questionnaire method in advertising, page 375. It's really simple. Ask people what they want, and then give it to them. And now there is a bit of it's not always that straightforward and simple because people, that's where you need to get enough answers. And according to Ryan, People can get by with about 120, 150 answers, but really you want to get a good solid 500 answers to your survey because a lot of the people that answer, they've got a pain or a problem, but it's not a bleeding neck, as we would call it, right? You want to help people with a bleeding neck problem because if your neck is bleeding, how much of a sales pitch do you need from me on why you need my band-aids? Almost none, right? Your neck is bleeding. Just give me something to stuff in this thing so I don't die. Meanwhile, if I have a paper cut, now I'm like, I don't know, I'm going to look at these different types of band-aids. Do I want a cloth one or a plastic one, or do I just want a paint-on band-aid, or maybe I should just put some gauze? Like now, right now I'm considering options, and it's just a bit more work to get my sale. So that's where you really want to try and get those answers. And then like Otto said, you can really try to get to know who your target market is, the problems they've got, adjust what you've got, and then follow up with the copy afterwards. That's This has been such a great call. My head's spinning. Sorry, that's why there's been some of the pauses because I got the gears turning in my own head. I think when I top off this, I got to get a bunch of work done because I'm just so inspired. Otto, what do you think is some of you predict is the future trend of this industry of copywriting, of being a copywriter? You mentioned already, and this is actually a really great tip that people they can put ads up online. They can test 50 different ads very, very quickly and come to one that gets a better response. How do you think that's going to affect copywriting moving forward in the
Well,
future?
really, I've been noticing more and more that things are moving towards brevity and making more of a headlines have always been important, but they're in my opinion they're becoming even more so. Hooks are even more important. How you open up and get people's attention because people's attention span are shortening. They're constantly having to battle for attention, and it's becoming harder and harder because there's so many more messages being thrown at people on a daily basis. You know, uh, so I'll give you a recent example for me. On Memorial Day weekend, I took that Sunday and I shut off all of my electromagnetic devices. I turned off my laptop. I completely turned off my cell phone. I didn't turn on the TV. And I spent the whole day with zero electromagnetics anywhere around me. And I noticed that I kept kind of like wanting to go grab my phone and check this or check that. And, but I had made a commitment to do it a day just away from it all. And it was very hard, but I noticed that my attention for the whole next week was much more focused and much more lasered into to the things that were needed to be done, and I had one of the most productive weeks of the entire year.
That is excellent. I love that. I love that. I'm actually going to do that as a challenge next weekend. I'm going to do that. I'm going to say, can I go one whole day on the weekend without touching a single piece of electronics?
Yeah, no TV, no cell phone, no laptop, no iPad or
No car?
yeah, I just spent the day kind of. I went for a nice walk. I got a workout in. I did a lot of reading that day.
I really like that, and I think that's really important. Because here's the thing about fundamentals, and I mean, right now we're talking about taking a day, unplugging yourself, and I think there's a ton of benefit from that. I know of myself having been forced to relocate. I was living in the States, and due to visa stuff, I had to unexpectedly relocate in a very short period of time back to Canada. I had a whole life, and I had a whole future, and all that stuff. It really didn't matter out at the end of the day. But fundamentals are so important. Going back to the martial arts analogy, there are certain fundamentals in everything that you do, and those fundamentals, when mastered, you can successfully use at the beginner level, the intermediate level, and the expert level to win, all right, or to be successful in what you're trying to do. But there are all sorts of fancy techniques, again, going to martial arts, that will only work on beginners, that will only work on intermediates, because they won't work at people at the top level. And I think that fundamentals are fundamental for a reason. And anytime you can get back to the fundamentals of something, it's mission critical. I mean, if I had to choose whether I could learn some advanced double backflip, triple twist gainer, from when I'm diving off a diving board into a pool, or I could just learn how to do a really nice, clean dive and just execute it perfectly every single time, I'd rather do that because the double twisted triple gainer, like it just might not be practical in a lot of instances. So I think this call we've covered some really good fundamentals, and I just want to kind of recap. We talked about basically finding a market first, going back to that outline I gave everyone here about the steps of creating the promotion. You start with the market first. That's the avatar, the survey data, the research on Amazon, book reviews or product reviews online, and forum conversations, whatever kind of espionage you can muster to understand what people are thinking about. Keyword research. Start with that first. Figure out what product or service you could deliver that will solve the problem but won't break the bank for you up front. Then to create a promotion around that and to launch that promotion, how the headline is really important. All the things that we talked about here, brevity, how, depending on what your data says, you also might have to realize that 70% might be new, that you want to be able to describe the problem better than they can, because then they'll believe that you know the problem better than they do and can solve the problem faster, easier, quicker, which is, I think I said the same thing twice, than they can, right? And that if you can sell someone on the problem that you're already 50% past the sale. What else are some of the fundamentals of good copywriting, Otto? What does good copy always include?
Headline, strong story, a super powerful offer. The better and more irresistible you can make your offer, the more you're going to sell. Having a great risk reversal, I mean, a very strong guarantee, and then having a good PS. Those are like the real key critical elements of a good piece. If you have a good headline, a great story, an incredible offer, a solid guarantee, and a PS that really wraps them back into the copy, then you'll do well.
Well said. Good. There's also something here for anyone that's listening. Take a look at any copy that you're writing, and Gary Bensavenga had his 5 P's: problem, promise, proof, proposition, and packaging. So you want to make sure you're addressing a problem, a unique problem. It's 10 points if you address a problem. No, wait, is it a urgent problem? That was it. 10 points for a problem, 15 if it's urgent, 10 points if you're making a promise, a clear promise, 15 if you're making a unique promise, proof. If you've got proof, 10 points. If it's undeniable proof, plus 15 points. Problem, promise, proof, proposition. Are you making an offer? Is it user friendly? 10 points. Then 15 points. That's right. Proof, proposition, and then the packaging. And I forget what the packaging ones was, but it was, it's like, is the package itself? I don't know. I forget what that one is.
I just pulled up my Bensavenga notes from his
100 seminar, yeah.
Seminar, and the packaging came back to the display, how it was laid out.
Is it easy to it's like the delivery. Is it easy to get through? And the other one is it valuable in and of itself?
Yeah, as he called it, the Cracker Jack secret. The little something inside a Cracker Jack box that's inherently valuable to them, that they really want, that gets them to buy the thing itself.
Right. So there's a little formula for people here if they're looking to grade their own stuff. Or, of course, Otto, if anyone here is interested in getting in touch with you, if they value your expertise, if they're jiving with what we said, if they think like, yeah, this is great, I need some expertise. And I'm just going to caveat, yeah, Otto's my friend, but I'm going to say this myself. I'm actually paying, and it's unfortunately not Otto, but I'm paying way more than I'm comfortable with for 3 different roles on my team right now, and there's a reason. And this is a reason because there's a lesson that I've learned, and it's taken me a long time to learn, and I've had to learn it a few times, and I've just had enough with it. And it's that if you think hiring an expert is expensive, wait until you hire an amateur. And I've wasted so much money hiring amateurs on stuff that I've kind of made a commitment. That's where why not the best? Why don't I get the best person to help me with this? I could do it, but am I going to do it the best? No, then why don't I get it the best done? And I can tell you what, Otto does fantastic copy work. So Otto, if anyone here wants to get in touch with you, either to consult with or ask questions to, or maybe even hire to do a job, what's some of the best contact info?
Easiest way to reach me is email. My email address is Otto 56 at gmail.com. I check it every day, and that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. And send me a bit of info on what the project is or what you're looking to do, and a way to reach you back. And happy to have a conversation and see how I can help you.
That's awesome. Yeah, and thank you, Otto. I mean, because you didn't have to be on here to do this, but thankfully, just to help me, you're willing to come on and help some of my listeners understand. Because terrible copy, I mean, if there's any surefire way, one of the easiest ways to be successful in business that I've seen is to combine a solid business model with a skilled copywriter. Because you might have the best product in the world, but the business graveyard is littered with world-class products and services that nobody knew about. Because maybe they had a website, maybe they had marketing material, but they just certainly weren't getting the message across. So, Otto, is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
What's for dinner? I really appreciate you bringing me on here, Daryl, and I love talking about this stuff. This is stuff that I just absolutely love marketing. I love the psychology of it. I love the structure of it. I know you know a heck of a lot about structure, and you've taken businesses that were about to go under and put in a few key systems and structures that then turn them into multi-million-dollar companies, and it's that love of this work that we both have that enables us to perform at a high level, and I know you've done some incredible things, and just being here on your show is truly an honor, and thank you.
Thank you, Otto. I value and appreciate you too. You've reached the end of our interview. Now, first, let me thank you for listening. I appreciate and respect you more than you'll ever know. And now I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what 3 lessons did you just learn? What 3 aha moments just jumped out at you? Second, what can you implement for yourself and your business in the next 24 hours? Third, what can you give to someone else to help you with, or give to them to just do it for you? Whatever it is, remember, taking action is the secret sauce to results. Now, if you think this interview would be helpful for a friend, please give them a link to it. It'll help them and it'll help me too. I'd also like to invite you to help me find out more about the challenges you're facing, your dreams, your goals, and how I can help you overcome what's holding you back. We both do better when we know better, and your success is my success. So please reach out and interact. You can visit our website, bestbusinesscoach.ca for Canada or California, where I'm from and where I'm living. You're welcome to also try out one of our paid programs. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much every other social media channel you can think of. You should also subscribe to the podcast, and if you're enjoying them, please leave us a nice review. It really helps. That's all for now. Once again, thank you. Take care of yourself, and remember, the world needs the best business you can build. And I believe in you.